Okay, welcome back, and we're in Dominions, not Phoenix Point. I just recorded an entire Phoenix Point episode, and then the audio turned out to not have recorded properly. So, I'm demoralized, and instead, I've edited up the next episode of the Underwater Bastards, so enjoy. Okay, it's turn 56 as the Underwater Bastards, and my god, SSG-73 has fled like a bitch to safer waters in my friend's lake. So, what he has done is he now is going to walk up to Dark Waves. You'll see I've put a siren here. Balan Stalin is going to kindly hand Dark Waves over to us this turn, which we'll be able to receive because we have a commander there. And then SSG-73 will be able to hide in this lab, equip boosters, empower an astral, and then it's wish time. It is wish time, and we're going to have the pearls to do it because this turn Arcane Nexus absorbed 86 astral gems, which is pretty damn good. A lot of that is ourselves, but, you know, it is what it is. It's still a very, it's a powerful gem creation global. We gained 20 from Earthblood Deepwell. We gained 4 and a bit times that from Arcane Nexus. So you can't argue with those sort of results. Not when my base gem income just ordinarily is this. Arcane Nexus is like having an entirely extra player and then some. Because what is this? 30, 42, 51, 58, 67, 70. Yeah, it's like having another Pelagia. It's like having another Pelagia and then some. So awesome news. Awesome news. Before I go through some of the turn though, there's been some very intense lobbying, and I have tried. We as a team have really tried not to get the rest of the Treaty of Lanka participants to turn on us. Really tried. Our intention was to share some of the Arcane Nexus benefits with the closer of the two sides, Hinnom, Saramatia. Now, understandably, though it breaks our heart, it does seem like both they and Team Cold are going to be triggering those 6-turn cooldowns now or next turn. So really, you're looking at the Treaty of Lanka ceasing on turn 62, I believe, most likely. Yeah, if I've got my numbers right, on turn 62, the Treaty of Lanka will cease to have effect, 62 or 63, depending on how the count works. But there it is. The world came together in order to counter the Agarthan, Machakan, Beridian Throne Rush. It joined together and there was hope. Now, unfortunately, it is broken asunder because there's no diplomatic victory condition in Dominions, unfortunately. There's nothing like when you play Diplomacy Online and you can offer a draw and everyone shakes hands. All we've said is flavorfully that we will respect everyone else's pantheon, that no one's going to tartar us as long as they abide by the treaty until the end of its term. And that's that. So, we need to be prepared in 6 or 7 turns' time to be at war with everyone in the world except for Vanheim. The elves, having been wronged and attacked and destroyed early on in their view, are happy to just stick it to those that attack them till the end of the line. So with TNN holding on in its one fortress over here, with Vanheim actually, under Herdalas's very capable control, actually achieving a fair amount of stuff, they're the non-hostile actors in all of this. Everyone else on this board, we're going to have to assume that we're going to be at war with, which is not a position the Underwater Bastards normally would end up in. Most people don't attack the water nations, but we're now a threat because of Arcane Nexus, so war is coming. What does that mean? It means we need a plan to win the game. Otherwise, we're just going to be ground back into the earth. And so we have developed 2 plans. The first, I suppose, war plan that we've got is an attempt to pull off a throne rush of our own. To do that, what's going to have to happen is, and don't laugh behind your screens. So Pelagia is going to have to take Droigar, and then with assistance from Atlantis marching south, and also some SC support from a Telkeen coming down from Therados, the Pelagian army is going to have to get to Eternal Expanse, seize it, and defend it despite being 2 turns away from Agartha's capital, and that being Ur's capital. Cool? With me so far? That has to happen. Atlantis has to throw together enough of a force that they can take Suthu, 161. Despite the fact that Saramatia will have, as I said, 6 odd turns to prepare, and this is Saramatia's cap. So expect a significant mage corps. And of course, Hinnom will have plenty of time to deploy their SCs either to counter our thrones or to defend their own. There is a third option. A bit nuts. The third option, depending on what happens, is to drop Greenwall, 128. Drop it and then somehow claim and hold it. So we're working on the structure of how that will happen. To go along with that plan, we've done the boring stage of the planning, which is we have written, I think, a 4 or 5 turn production schedule for Theranos. Theranos is now producing dozens of items per turn. And that is the number of items they need to boost every mage we need boosted and to gear every thug and SC that we have in our possession or will have in our possession in 5 turns to make sure they're all geared. That means all the elemental royalty geared. It means the new Telkeens geared and twice spawned. It means Atlantis' basalt kings all geared and deployable. And it means my mages boosted because I'm going to need boosts on my mages. That production order is set. We send Theranos a set number of gems each turn. He expends them, produces the items, and will transport them to us. That's what's going to get our military in position. In the event that we can't rush or the rush fails, what we're then going to do is transition into economic warfare. And I mean literally economic warfare against the entire remainder of the board. And to do that, we're going to fall into a wish farming loop. I will ask people if you want to go into the boring mathematics and mechanics of wish farming, other than me just explaining it a little bit when we do it. But suffice to say, the wish spell normally gives you a profit of 75 gems per turn. So one wisher produces 75 gems. But to make that work, you need an astral income of 75, because you need to pay for the gap between the pearls you get and the actual wish. If you alchemize to pay for the wish, wish makes you no gems. It's net 0. You spend all of the profit you otherwise would have gotten to produce astral pearls that you then wish away. With pearl farming, you make a profit of 50. With pearl farming, you make a clean closed loop, makes a profit of 50 per turn. Now, if you have arcane nexus and pearl farming, that profit number goes from 50 per wisher to 106.25, which means each wishcaster is actually more valuable than just the arcane nexus in itself, or at least is in the same sort of field. And that's only a negative 18.75 pearl ratio sort of situation. So if you have a pearl income of, for every 19 pearls you make, you can support one wisher and make 106 gems profit per turn. And that's before you scale it. But I won't go into that unless people want to be bored with numbers and mechanics. But suffice to say, the most powerful gem generating engine in the game that isn't blood is an Arcane Nexus Pelagian Wish Farm. I don't think there's anything in the game that can do better. Moving on, let's talk about our turn. So, we received a couple of Lightless Lanterns from Theranos. I did my research math. I needed a couple to make my goals on time, so he sent me a couple, and a few gems that I need to produce things. Lichcraft, Mind Hunt. We killed I believe, geared Oracle, stranding these Magma Children. Very happy. Good Mind Hunt. Capital only, slow to recruit mage with gear. Perfect target. Bang. Love your work, Layden. Wolven Winter. So Wolven Winter on Droigar, and I believe also on Agartha's capital. One to be annoying and reduce his income, and the other because if there's a bunch of Magma Kids in there... if there are a bunch of Magma Kids coming there, then we don't want to have to deal with them. What we're going to have to do, but they won't because Gemborn's dead, and we thought there were more. There aren't. What we will need to do is freeze Eternal Expanse 168 before we fight there. We want to fight Magma Kids in Cold 3, not in Heat 3. Note to self. Cool, and SSG3 teleported. Atlantis pushing Agartha around. Oh, this is glorious. I love Varnheim. So Varnheim still has a good Vanhir stack, and he's run it straight into a whole bunch of Magma Kids. Magma Kids that are a problem for a lot of things that aren't Vanheers, especially fire-resistant 5 Vanheers. And that, against Flame Strike, makes a lot of difference, because that reduces it to 10 armor piercing. These guys are going to have 20 protection. You're not going to average any damage off that. So we can watch the slaughter, which gives me a time to take a sip. Glorious. Glorious, glorious, glorious. So, for the loss of 1 Vanheer, that's 48 Magma Children and 5 living statues, which is a threat removed from my immediate area. Vanheim raiding, and then Therados attacked Beratos. So this is Beratos' last stand. This is everything that was left over after the Telkeen went in last turn. He's reconfigured, he's doing the best he can, but now it's time for the Therodian army. First, the bugs. The bugs that are designed to mess up casting, to distract the AI, to prevent them mosh pitting the gate. Not that that really matters against Therados, because as you'll see in a minute, Therados, being ethereal, can just walk through the wall. Meanwhile, these are, what do you call it? They're all bar-skinned. So they've got natural protection, ethereal, and air shield. So a little bit of an upgrade there for Therados. We've got Howl and Foul Vapors up. So even against the enemy who can cast a fair amount of magic and has a little bit of banishment, and has some fire elementals which will really mince ghosts that get minced in turn. So they'll mince them because of the fire vulnerability, and they'll get minced in turn because the magical weapons don't care about their ethereality. Here's the mosh pit in the gate. These regenerating Colossi warriors are not slouches, and it will take time for the ghosts to fight out their way through, but there are also some poison stacks to help out. You can see the wounds do sort of stack up. And over here you've got a Melkart, Firebrand, Vine Shield, Dragon Helmet, Boots the Messenger, Ring of Regen, Cat Charm. So a pretty good Melkart. And he will, with the Firebrand, be killing ghosts and wolves relatively quickly. The problem, I think, for Beratos is going to be the rear line, which will all die off or flee eventually. And the Colossi do get ground down. So it looks like this is going to be ghost casualties. And the mages are now going to get the Melkart in the end, aren't they? Because the ghost won't kill the Melkart. Our invulnerable Telkeen. I'm not sure what kills the Melkart. Something does. Some magic eventually kills the Melkart. Anyway, losses: 4 Curates, 1 Melia Thug, and then a bunch of ghosts. Who cares? He's producing, what, like, somewhere between 60 and 80 ghosts, I think, per turn. Something insane. Might be lower, might be like 50, but he's got a serious ghost production line going, because he's a mad lad, and I love it. So we can afford the ghost losses. Don't like 10 Curates, but we don't have a Bless anyway, so, like, what do you want? Like, why do you care about your Sacreds? 28 Beridian Sages, 2 Brazen Bulls, 1 Geared Melkart, an Enchanter, the entire remainder of the Beridian army, including 58 Colossi Warrior Sacreds, and your money or your throne. We will take your throne. So, Agaria must now be templed, it must be preached, and it must be claimed, because we got the outer throne. And that's 3 Astral Pearls, more importantly, 2 Temple checks, and we'll take the magic scale as well. Super happy with that, given that we're M2. M3 is a little bit of a boost to research, but I'm pretty sure that we don't need much help in the research. If we're not first in research, I'll eat my hat, because it would have been maybe Beratos Machaka early game, but we've killed all their research mages and destroyed their economy, and we really went heavy into research. So I fully expect that we are number one right now, which is a good place to be. So, other than that, so yeah, 86 Astral Pearls, bunch of random events. They don't matter, half of them are Wolven Winter anyway. So, here's what's going to happen. We've broken this fort. There could be scary stuff inside, there could not be. We're not sure. Machaka is fully capable of teleporting things in, and this army's got better places to be. So most of this army is actually going to move. It's going to move because we need to either take Klon or take Eternal Expanse 168. We need to get out there. We need to secure this area. We're going to move on. A small force is going to stay behind and try and storm. If he has nothing there, we'll win. If he has something there, but it's a battlefield wipe, hopefully we'll kill it, we'll lose our stuff, and then Atlantis has got an army that is following up, and Atlantis will be able to seize the fort if need be, which works for me. It means that I can keep this big death stack, which is almost all the stuff that took the throne, and a lot of that mage support, meet up with some extra mages that'll be basing out of here, rendezvous, and we'll be able to threaten 168 and 166. No leaving it to the Enkidu now. The Enkidu can fight underground for all we care. If they're going to be ending the Treaty of Lanka, we'll follow it, but the Treaty of Lanka doesn't prevent us taking 168 because it does not give us a winning margin. As long as we don't take anything, as long as we don't take enough points to win, we're okay. So, we weren't going to take it, now we are. I think that's the sum of the plan. Therados is going to produce a butt-ton of super combatants. And then Therados' main goal is going to be just defense on their 2 thrones and lending out teleport jumps. So lending out to us the ability to drop super combatants on things in order to kill them if there are armies that are exposed or whatnot. Also, the plan is for Therados to produce, I think we're aiming to produce maybe 2 kill squads. That is, pairs of super combatant chassis geared to kill super combatants and operate in pairs. So that'll be twice spawned Telks, or it might be Air Queens in specific circumstances, and their goal will be when the Melkarts show themselves, the kill teams drop on the Melkarts and kill them. Because if you're killing 1 to 2 Melkarts every turn and they're always geared, 1, that's a huge wound to Hinom's economy. 2, you will actually grind him down eventually, and we will be able to replace and expand our numbers of SCs as they go. Saramatia does not have a recruitable SC, only Blood Summonable. does not have a recruitable SC, so it's only Hinom that is producing the capital-only super combatant chassis. And we're frankly fine with that. So, fantastic turn. Everyone underestimates Therados when it's living Therados, because it's a complete meme and makes no sense. But here, living no-ghost Therados is, with a pile of ghosts, and a throne that he took off Beratos, and a throne that he took off Lanka. I love this game sometimes. Okay guys, see you in turn 57. Okay, turn 57. Astral Boosters. Sure you have no idea why we want those. Mind Hunt unfortunately didn't kill another Oracle. Dark Waves has been relinquished, so SSG-73 is now safely hidden away in his underwater palisades. If anyone's got scouts here, like, I'll eat my hat. Like, we're going to stick some more commanders here, and my allies are already putting, like, random Triton commanders and things like that, just in case of some weird remote assassination shenanigans. But, like I said, the odds are really long that they know he's there. The odds are really long that he gets targeted. The odds are long that he dies, and if he does die, he's twice born. So, that's not how you're taking down Arcane Nexus. I'm just being paranoid because the cheapest way for anyone to knock down our Arcane Nexus is going to be to kill him. Twice. Ain't so cheap to dispel at, I think you'd need to cast at like 700 and something pearls. Which means you need at least an Astral 8 in order to dispel us, I believe. No, less, because you don't count the 150 core gems. So we cast at 750 or 700 thereabouts. So let's say it was 700. 550 gems worth of overcast. So someone needs to cast Dispel at 585 gems or something like that. So an Astral 6 would suffice. But, you know, who knows? Who knows? The alternative is you could try and overcast Arcane Nexus if you also had level 9 research and a sufficiently high level caster and enough pearls. But it's cheaper to dispel it and more people will have the research. So that's more likely. What happened here? Varnheim raided. Atlantis still trucking around with those Basalt Kings, who unfortunately in most of our planning look like they're the ones who get to be sacrificed to be speed bumps for our enemies in order to screen our rush. But, you know, there it is. Spider Clan Sorcerer raiding. That's one way to do it. Okay, alright, so it looks like we attacked in Droigar with a little bit of stuff because I didn't know what was inside. Looks like there was some stuff inside, and we killed all of the mages, but not the PD. Well, that's not a problem. That'll get assaulted and run over now. Yeah, okay. Doesn't look like there was a wipe or anything there because of the way the numbers work. Yeah, so we could have gone in with more and taken it, but it'll just delay us by 1 turn. We'll take it next. Arcane Nexus absorbs 82. And the whole army, which is not starving because I've made supply items and I've got a whole bunch of N1 mages and stuff feeding this force desperately, is now in dry fields, which means next turn we can go to Clon and be right on the cusp of Eternal Expanse. Although, look, here is a secondary Agarthan army. And here's the other thing. Agarthan army's not here anymore. So, the Agarthan army is here. Which means the Agarthan army is probably going to go here. 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 And here. If the Agarthan army's main goal is to A, spite me, and B, turn this area into like Agartha Secundus, because you can form a triangle, right? You can form a triangle that goes Agartha, Arcocephali, Tin, and Og. And in that triangle, you can fit 3 capitals and 2 thrones. And if your only goal is to prevent someone else winning the game while also being sort of relevant, that triangle might be enough. The pointy end is going to be the hard bit to hold. Like TNN would be the hard bit to hold because it's right near Pelagia itself. But Umbor is a cave, and caves are your natural environment. So it looks like I'm gearing up for a fight with an Agarthan army over this throne, the Strongdale force, and also potentially they may, if they want to sacrifice all this territory to Roos, march and fight us. So the fact that Atlantis is sending down troops, the fact that Basalt Kings here, which are very, very handy, and also good old Mr. Raintime, the Telkeen. Mr. Raintime is going to come all the way down here. He's got a speedy loadout at the moment. I think he's got some running shoes on. He's going to come to Droigar once it's taken. He's going to take ownership of Droigar, and then Mr. Raintime is going to be available to teleport from 196 wherever we need him. Because no one should expect a Telkeen operating here so far from Therados, considering that this is the Atlantis Pelagian front. Hopefully no one expects airdropping Telkeens down on this front. So, yeah, that's that. Do I need to talk about anything else? This will be an empowerment this turn. I know it's expensive. The establishment cost for wishes is quite high, even if you've got one that's naturally close. However, the reason wish farming is scaling is because you can use wish to wish for more wishes. Not wish for more wishes, wish for more beings that are capable of using wish, and thus generating wish results for you. So, by wishing for some high astral heroes, and then empowering, giving them the right gear, etc., you can have more people wishing for gems, and more and more and more. Technically, this can scale almost forever. The cost goes up when you run out of Astral 5s to wish for, because there are only a limited number of Astral 5 heroes that you can wish for in the game. Then I think you have to go down to Astral 4s who require an extra empowerment and give you one less turn of income, so they have a much longer break-even period. But for the heroes, for your first couple of wish farmers, if you are Pelagia and you have Arcane Nexus, you can turn a profit, including opportunity cost, you can turn a profit on wishing for another wish caster in about 4 turns. So 4 turns after you do it, you've made more than if you had just wished for gems the entire time. This means that they can then pay for another wisher every 2 turns on average, and then eventually you get to the point where you're generating a new wish caster every turn. Or every 2 turns if you need 2 empowers. It gets stupid, right? Depends how long the game's going to go. But if you are, like we are, if you're at turn 57 and you think the game's going to go to turn 75, then by turn 75, screw it. Have a gem income of 1,100 per turn or something like that. And then just wish for Armageddon, destroy the entire planet, and everything's dead except for your gem income, and your gem income so high that it's probably higher than even the blood economies. I probably spoilt the entire topic of a late game strategy video there, which is beating blood powers through the use of apocalypse and gem generation. But maybe I make that as a separate video. If people are interested in how batshit late games Dominion strategies can get, tell me, and that's what I'll do. I'm always looking for good guide topics. Anyway, back to the underwater bastards. Let me just think if there's anything else I really need to mention. We're kind of quiet at the moment because we're carrying out this race into the last bits of Agartha, while Agartha clearly is turning all of its attentions and efforts on us. Team Cold's going to be quiet, and then they're going to come for us as soon as the treaty is up. That realistically means putting a big force in Caverns of Gold to threaten Carrion 17, because technically taking 17 as a throne is a path to victory. I just don't like my chances fighting 6, and I don't like the idea of fighting Pangea against the alternatives of, well, we can already fight Agartha because of treaty, having Atlantis beat up Saramatia, maybe doing a teleport drop. This is a real secondary goal for us. Like, this is a real long shot option, because it would require me to produce an army that is capable of defeating Pangea on its home territory, and I'm just not sure how that happens. So, anyway, no reason to waffle more. I'm talking too much about theory and not enough about the game. We're moving. We'll take this throne. Well, we'll move towards this throne. We'll monitor the diplomacy. Not that there's much to do anymore. We'll set our gem generation engine up, and then hopefully we'll be in a good position to start really shaping up our rush attempt. Cheers. Okay, turn 58, and this is interesting. Arcane Nexus has absorbed magical power equal to 34 astral gems. That means no one else in this game other than us really spent gems last turn. For every other turn, we've been accounting for just over a third of the gem expenditure in the game, it seems. Between a quarter and a third. This turn, we accounted for pretty much all of it. And the only reason, I've said this before, the only reason people would do that is if someone thought that there was a dispel attempt happening this turn. And I have to find out how. Because either, somehow, Machaka had 700, or maybe they thought it was less, but Machaka had enough pearls to attempt to dispel, and they did so using their god or something. Or someone gave Machaka gems in breach of the Treaty of Lanka. Or someone attempted to dispel in breach of the Treaty of Lanka. And I'm just going to need to find out what went on there, because if someone has broken the treaty, they'll still be protected from us by their nap, but we might be able to go to war with them sooner than the Treaty of Lanka would prohibit. So it might be like waiting for the cooldown on a nap 3 or a nap 4, rather than the Treaty of Lanka. In fact, you could probably argue that breaching one treaty means none of your treaties should protect you anymore. It depends on your attitude. I'm just saying, the most conservative interpretation, it might be that we can go to war earlier than we thought, if someone has tried to dispel. Or, people might just have decided that, gems are old-fashioned and the gold economy is where you're at turn 58. That sounds like something that people would do. We received the Staff of Elemental Mastery from Thero. This is very important for giving us Earth boost, so this will give us access to Troll Kings, it's breaking us into Big Earth, and it gives you +1 casting range on your rituals, which is a underappreciated benefit of the Staff of Elemental Mastery. Conjuration done to level 6, and Alteration is done to level 9. SSG 73 has empowered himself in Astral. Where's my crystal coin? Who's holding the crystal coin? Oi. I'll find you a crystal coin in a moment. I just want to set up and generate. So, for those of you who've never used Wish, it's really like old school gaming. Astral 9 now. It's just a bit different in that you physically have to type something, and there's a whole list of things that you can wish for. I would argue generally the most useful is this spell, Gems, which gives you 25 of every non-blood sort of gem in exchange for 100 Astral Pearls. which, as I said, gives you a profit of 75 if you don't care what type they are, and you have infinite astral income to power it. Or if you need to close the loop, which is more realistic, but you're a pearl farmer, it's like adding another 50 gems per turn to your income. Not bad. We're not going to go straight into generating another Wishcaster because for the purpose of our rush, the number of gems required by the item and summoning build list we produced is insane. So for the immediate future, we'd rather take 106 gem profit per turn now, as opposed to something that takes 4 or 5 turns to start paying off. We just need returns now to get ready for war. So we'll transition. We'll make the call in 1 or 2 turns if we want to transition to getting a second Wishcaster. But for the moment, I'm just going to make a profit of 106 gems using my god. This is a legitimate argument for taking a god like this, right? This is a legitimate argument. This Hydromancer, SSG 73, did nothing for 50-something turns. Pretty much nothing. Sorry, not nothing. Searched for death gems and then made my first lich. So single-handedly broke me into the death economy. And then in the mid-50s, put up a global which generates 80 pearls per turn, and then cast a spell where every time he casts it makes a profit of about 107 gems. So he's responsible right now for improving our income by about 190 gems per turn. Which I would argue is pretty... Oh, sorry. 191. He generates 1 water gem per turn. Don't think I forgot that ability. Okay. Other than that, Woven Winter. I got Australian. I made crocodiles. I made crocodiles in Caverns of Gold because I need more stuff in Caverns of Gold, and also it is very memey to potentially attack someone with hyper-blessed crocodiles as an Australian. I feel like it is basically my cultural duty. We're not memeing enough. We're playing to win, and it doesn't feel right for the underwater bastards, so we need some memeing, so I'm going to summon a bunch of crocodiles, basically, and I'm going to attack people with saltwater crocs. At least I assume they're saltwater crocs. Transformation. So this time we did not get feeble-minded. Amazing. So, the Sea Stag. Sea Stag's an interesting chassis. You get +1 nature built in, but you can no longer carry a Thistle Mace. I consider that a net win, because you're saving on a Thistle Mace. However, you do instead need an Amulet of the Fish. But if you put an Amulet of the Fish on this thing, it's 19 hit points, and it has pretty bloody high map move. It's resistant to some stuff. It's decent. It's a decent result. So I'm going to put an Amulet of the Fish on this, and this will be one of the army supporting Naiads. What else happened? Didn't kill that person. Teleported Why You Gotta Be So Old. I'm starting to regret this. I feel like I should have gone down here instead. The idea was, I'm going to break into fire as well. So Why You Gotta Be So Old can make a Flame Spirit. Flame Spirits can make more Flame Spirits. Hurrah, you're in fire now, and that might be handy for battlefield casting. In particular, because I can cast Army of Gold Firestorm is just a tale as old as time, so I'd like to be able to do that. I might instead move Why You Gotta Be So Old down to here and make the Flame Spirit down there instead. Not exactly sold yet. Basalt King doing Basalt King things. Mercenaries taking a province. Us moving the big army into Tierdir. The other province, by the way, was hit by Atlantis, so the fort is locked down. Attacked Agartha and won. So look at this big-ass stack of Urs. This is on Agartha's cap. And Agartha's cap is breached. Now, I don't think this army can beat the army that's inside. Depends what it's casting. So we'll keep our scout there. I don't think this is enough to beat an Agarthan army that features, like, in a cave. Because what's going to happen in the cave is there's already going to be darkness penalties. Agartha could go darkness again. It's a mostly living army, so it's very vulnerable to fatigue plays if Agartha decides to go rigor mortis and then come at you with spectrals. There's a lot of infantry, but I really hope they're properly buffed, and I just think it's vulnerable to a lot of things. But strong army, strong play. Foxy, I wish you luck. I genuinely wish you luck. I hope you win, and then we can have a nice dramatic fight over Eternal Expanse. That would be great. Anyway, so Atlantis locked down both Klon and Eternal Expanse, which means I can now safely move on. The reason you do this first is because it means that if there was any patrol trap that was set for an army, it's triggered and killed by the super combatant instead. When we move on next turn, we're in better shape because the enemy has to guess if they send out an army spiker, like a Wind of Deathcaster, for example, 50-50 if you hit the army or the Basalt King, or this, like, they're not sure exactly what will happen. I'm not guaranteed to move on. Don't quote me on the 50-50 probability of who you hit if you sally from a fort. That bit I'm less sure of. All I know is that this made it less likely that I was going to run into some sort of trap, and I'm very happy for that fact. Atlantis, meanwhile, is breaking down Fever Fens. He'll get in, and he'll see that eventually. Theranos is just fortifying. Theranos has built a temple. Theranos will claim. They're bringing their super combatants into position. You can see another one down here. Lots of Telkeens, actually. 2 Telkeens. So Theranos is getting ready for what I talked about before, wherein you have a mixture of army support Telkeens. So Theranos is going to throw themselves, when the war starts, will throw themselves into Hinnom, take as much terror as possible, and then defense in depth back, right? Force Hinnom to deploy forces to defend his economic heartland, or Theranos will just keep going. But if Hinnom counters, Theranos will move back towards the Vengeful Water, and then as the armies and super combatants come forward, he'll drop his own army counter people on the armies, he'll drop his SC killers on the SCs, and hopefully will give Hinnom a really bloody nose, and then the army can re-advance and tear the heart out of Hinnom. But it's a hard front. The advantage that Theranos has is we don't need to take anything. Taking Lanka would be good because it eliminates a sort of a salient and, like, is clean and kills a bunch of researchers. But strategically, Theranos doesn't need to take anything. It's me and Atlantis fighting for Eternal Expanse, fighting for Carrion, fighting for Saramatia's throne, potentially fighting for 128, although realistically I think Saramatia's throne's the best bet. It's us fighting for those that are really going to have to put the effort in. So there we are. Wishing for gems, moving into position. This army is going to go onto this throne next turn. There may be a fight. Less likely if the army move back to the capital, because the army will take at least one turn to break free, either by being assaulted or by breaking siege. So we may have bought some time. Ideally what will happen is, well, whoever wins, that army is going to take a turn to march, depending on its movement speed. So what do you need? You need 17 movement points to make it. And they only have 14. So basically what's going to happen is whoever wins here is going to take 2 turns to get here. And hopefully it'll be next turn, they're free, I've broken the fort. Next turn, they move here, I've stormed it. Which means they have to come back onto the fort and break my fort in order to take the throne off me, ideally. That would be a good progression of turns. Anyway, we're having lots of fun. We're not at war, but we're going to be at war. The timers are all counting down. I'm going to investigate that dispel thing and find out what on earth is going on, because someone's pulled something. But in the meantime, the gem generation engine of Pelagia is about to get going. We have Arcane Nexus. We're going to have Wish plus Pearl Farming and Arcane Nexus. It's going to be a good time. I'll see you all in turn 59.